All right, Dennis, we are live. Thank you so much for taking out some time.
My pleasure.
So, I like the movie a lot. Let's talk about Suitable Flesh. What
Sure.
kind of brought you on board to adapt this H.P. Lovecraft 1937 story? How did this come about for you?
It goes back on, it goes back almost to 1937. How much time you got? This is it's actually a long story. I'll try to give you the I'll try to I can't give you the short form, so I'll try to go as fast as I can. Uh, in the mid 90s, Stuart was making a couple of our movies in Europe. Was making Castle Freak and then Dagon. And while he was there, we were looking at the next Lovecraft adaptation we might do, because that was sort of what we were doing at the time, and it was successful, and we were really enjoying it. So we both really liked the story, The Thing on the Doorstep. And if you know it, it's one of Lovecraft's more well-crafted stories. A lot of his stories are just so they're just suggestive. They don't show you anything. They just, for example, From Beyond, if you know our film From Beyond, we tell the entire story in the pre-credit sequence. By the credits, that story's over. The rest of that movie we imagined, but we imagined it from what Lovecraft inspired. We always felt we were faithful to the spirit of Lovecraft. You can't be faithful to the letter because films aren't letters; they're made of images. So you have to show stuff. So Stuart was great at showing stuff. It was what he really did. So we were looking at the next story, and Thing on the Doorstep seemed to be the best story to tell. It had three main characters who were, it was very dramatic, the interplay between them. It seemed really good. Stuart said, while I'm gone, Dennis, write a script and see what comes out. I wrote a script while he was gone. He came back. I showed it to him. He loved the script. He put on his producer's hat. He tried to take it around. It got optioned, but it didn't get done. So he took it around again, and about in the early 2000s, it got optioned again, but again, he couldn't raise the money for it. There were certain objections, so he couldn't get it done. About 5 years later, a couple of actors came on and liked the script and optioned it. And again, they took it around and they couldn't raise the money and they couldn't get it done. And all three times there was the same objection, why it couldn't be done. And I'll let you guess what that is. So I just put it in a drawer and we worked on other things. We worked on, for example, the one person Edgar Allan Poe show with Jeff Combs, Nevermore, An Evening with Edgar Allan Poe.
Sure.
So it's in a drawer. And then at the beginning of the pandemic, really unfortunately, Stuart passed away, and I miss him to this day. And I did a couple of Zoom memorials for him, and Barbara Crampton was was engaged in those memorials because she's one of the important actors in those movies, including Castle Freak and From Beyond.
Of course.
We reconnected, and she has become, besides historically a terrific screen queen and a working actress, she's become a producer, a very successful producer of low-budget horror. She said, Dennis, do you have any scripts? So I pulled The Thing on the Doorstep out of the drawer and I sent it to her. She really liked it. She optioned it. She connected Joe Lynch, which pretty much assured that it was going to get made. He connected Heather Graham, which then it was a done deal. This movie's going to get made. He made a suggestion on a change that was made, which was really helpful. He wanted to change the genders of the main characters. So I went, I'd had this script around for almost 23 years. And you dig your heels in and you go, this script is, I believe in this script. It's good. I don't want to change anything. But when he said that, it gave me, it opened the door. I reopened the door on that script. It let me see it in a new way. I went back, I made the change. I was still able to tell the whole story. But it helped the story. It made it more interesting. It made it, shiny and wet, and was very happy with it. But since the main characters were female now, I had to be a little careful because, spoiler alert, I'm a guy. Sure. So wanted to make sure I wasn't being too risk too off the wall in relation to my female characters. So I tried to run it by Barbara as often as possible. And she was a great help. She's a terrific producer, besides being a great actress. And isn't it amazing how great she looks? Doesn't she?
She's amazing. Yeah.
Back in our films in the 80s, it's unbelievable. Except for the 80s shoulder pads. She looked the same, I mean, and then, the rest is the history. So that's the history of Suitable Flesh up to the moment.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what keeps you coming back to H.P. Lovecraft's work? I mean, what is the draw for you that, you've done so many adaptations, 7 films with Stuart and a couple TV shows? I mean, why do you keep coming back?
We both loved, we met in high school. Stuart and I met in high school, and we discovered that our senses of humor were very close to each other, but we also liked to read and to go and film. And the films we liked were often horror films. We were good students. Stuart was secretary of his graduating class, and I was an honor student, but we cut class a few times, and when we cut class, it was to go see the new Hammer film, the new Christopher Lee Dracula, or the new American International adaptation of Poe. So that was our stuff. That was our youth, and we were trying to. We tried. It kept, to some degree, doing Lovecraft, going back and doing horror films. It kept us young. It doesn't. Stuart's work is like a young director's work, no matter how old he was. Sure. And Lovecraft is, I was an academic. My day job for decades was teaching literature at Hunter College of the City University of New York. I taught Gothic fiction for 20 years, and Lovecraft is one of the great impressionists of American literature, which means his stories give you the impression. They don't show you all the stuff all the time, but they give you enough idea of what it might be that you fill it in with your imagination. You imagine what the most terrible thing could be. That's great for filmmakers because you can imagine what they are and then show it. It gives you the license, the freedom to take Lovecraft to another step. And we always thought, as I said, we always thought we were being faithful to the spirit of Lovecraft's work, even if we weren't faithful to the letter.
That's amazing, man. And here's probably a hard one. Out of all your Lovecraft adaptations, which one is your favorite? Do you have one? I know it's a hard one. I'm sorry.
They jump around, and I'll tell you why. I would say my favorite is still the first one, is Re-Animator, because if you look at that movie, that tells the story so well. It tells it. I'm the writer, so I'm into the story. So I'm about how well did they tell the story, and that tells the story so well. But From Beyond is crazy. That's the craziest movie we could make for the budget that we had. It closest one to Lovecraft, to the mythology of Lovecraft. We were most faithful to Lovecraft in telling that story. So those are all, and Castle Freak. Castle Freak is it's a beautiful, we love that little script. Sure. It's not we're not funny in it, but we love that little story that we told. Stuart and I both did. And I love Suitable Flesh. Boy, Joe did a great job. It's interesting. Joe has filmmaking chops. Stuart was a painter. Watch Stuart's films. The frames are paintings. They're beautiful. Joe is a film guy. Joe knows the history of film. There are, in Suitable Flesh, there's not every film trick, but the film tricks that help tell the story. There's irises and split screens and, fantastic whirling scenes that, I couldn't believe it. He did such a great job telling the story in the most filmic way possible. Great, so I love something about all of them. And, you sort of love your most recent the most, Sure. Flesh. We tried to get it made so often that it's heartwarming, which is an odd thing to say about the movie, but it's heartwarming to us that it got made.
So real quick, last question. I'm a big fan of Nevermore. I saw it
Oh,
in
cool.
I saw it in California live in like 2008, I think maybe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why has that never been converted to film? I know that there was.
There's a script out there. Again, it's not an easy script to make. It's a, you know, it's a period piece, and those are always more expensive. You know, it's about Edgar Allan Poe, and it's going to be Edgar Allan Poe. And it is a shame if you didn't get a chance to see Jeffrey Combs channel Edgar Allan Poe.
It was amazing.
Brilliant. One of the brilliant performances I've ever seen in my life. And the other thing is, when I wrote that script, it was like collaborating with Poe. About 80% of that script is actually from Poe's letters and
Sure.
and published stuff that you're not likely to see. It's from research I did on his life. It was like collaborating with Poe. It was a spectacular experience.
Wow.
You know, but the script is still out there. And as I said, you know, if Suitable Flesh, the thing on the doorstep, is any model for this, you know, no script is dead. You young script writers out there, screenwriters, no script is dead. You know, pick them up every once in a while, look at them, try to refresh them, believe in your stories, and believe in the way you told them.
That's amazing, Dennis. I love it, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you.
Suitable Flesh is going to be coming out the 27th in theaters on demand, and everyone should see it. So I appreciate the time again. So
Oh, thanks so much.
all right.